So we're going to jump right into the next two presentations. So I'd like to welcome to the stage our next presenter, Shlomo Weiss from SafeNet.
Thanks. All right, thanks, Rihanna. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I feel like I've really come full circle. A few years back, I was tasked with go figure out what this SaaS thing is our customers are all talking about. So in November of 2007 was one of the first things I did was attend a SIA event, the SIA On Demand event in San Jose. And since then, we at SafeNet have come a long way in the SaaS market. For those of you who are not familiar with SafeNet, we're a market-leading provider of data protection solutions around the world with about 1,600 employees in over 30 countries. I'm here representing the software rights management business today, where we're the leading provider of software monetization solutions for ISVs. We have over 15,000 ISV customers around the world, where we help them for both their on-premise and cloud-based services, everything from flexible packaging of their solutions to the licensing and their entitlement management. About a year and a half ago, we launched our Sentinel Cloud service, which is a cloud licensing platform. And since then, we've learned a lot, both working with pure play SaaS companies, as well as our on-premise customers that are transitioning to the cloud, about how they approach and how they successfully monetize their SaaS solutions. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to start with what we see as a typical SaaS company approach when they first get to market. And they hang out their shingle. They basically start with a land grab. It's trying to get as many users, as many customers as possible. And they typically start with this pretty straightforward business model, just opening their doors and trying to get as many users as possible. But that then quickly turns to, okay, how do we optimize our solution? Are we offering the right business model? Are we offering the right packaging, the feature set to our customers? Are we charging according to the right metrics? And what should we be doing better? Essentially, what they're aiming for is what David Skok from Matrix Partners calls a balanced business model. On the one hand, maximizing the monetization or the lifetime value they see per customer. And the other hand, reducing the cost of acquiring a new customer. Skok recommends a 3-to-1 ratio, where for every $1 of customer acquisition cost, it should lead to at least $3 of lifetime value. Just as a side note, if you're not familiar with David Skok and the blog, I highly suggest reading it. There's a lot of great information there about how to run a SaaS business. So for this talk today, I want to focus on the monetization piece of this equation and talk about what we hear pretty often from our customers and prospects when they're launching a SaaS business and when they're trying to also optimize their SaaS business. We hear things like, what business model should we use? Should it be subscription? Should it be pay-per-use? Should it be post-paid, prepaid, and whatnot? How do we optimize our offering? Are we segmenting it properly? Should we be segmenting our solution? What metrics should we charge our customers based on? Is it per user? Should it be per transaction? We've got companies that we work with, for example, in the design space, where every time a designer clicks on save, they want to charge them for that. And so they're really struggling with, okay, what's the right model for us? And essentially what they're aiming to do is to maximize their revenue. This is just a standard demand curve, volume times price, and it gets you to your revenue. And when we talk about with them as well, if you lower your price, your volume will likely go up. And if you raise your price, then obviously the volume will likely go down. And so in an ideal scenario, you'd look for a segmented price where you offer different levels to the different types of customers in order to maximize your revenue. But what essentially they're looking to do is it's not just a price issue. It's how do you match what you're offering to your customer to meet the value that they're receiving in order to really get to that optimized model. And that's what we call a segmented offering, where you could see at the high end, the customers are willing to pay more because they get the most value. And the value could be a combination of features, of resources, of service levels, frequency, duration, and others. To the other extreme, on the light version, for the lower price, they get less value. It can even be for free. And essentially what they're aiming to do is in an optimized environment, we call an optimized offering, is to be able to segment properly and offer the right value to the right customer at the right price points and the right business models. The next natural question we get from our customers is, well, okay, that sounds nice and theoretical, but how do we actually get there? And so what we answer is it's complicated, which is not a response that our customers are looking for. But the reason it's complicated is because there are multiple elements of a SaaS business model. First of all, price, right? Are you charging X number of dollars? Is it free? You can change the price. The metric, what are you charging based on? User, transaction, instance, bandwidth, we've seen it all. What's your license model? Is it a subscription, prepaid, postpaid model, concurrent usage? What type of package are you offering? Is it a single feature set to all your customers, or are you packaging your features and bundling the offering to meet different segments of the market? And essentially, that makes it complicated, because which combination is the right one for you? There are multiple different options here, and how do you know which one to choose? Unfortunately, what we usually see is that many SaaS providers and cloud companies are just going by their gut. I recently came across a blog post by Jason Fried from 37 Signals. It's from a couple of years ago. Someone asked, how did 37 Signals find the right business model? And his response was, well, we really went according to what felt right to us. And that's the type of guesswork that we see across the industry. And so when we talk to our customers, we challenge them with, okay, it's not just going with your gut, but how do you take the guesswork out of finding the right model? And that's what I want to present to you as a process that we often work through with our customers on how they optimize their SaaS business model. The first step that we talk about is tracking usage. I think it's one of the big myths of the cloud and SaaS, where on the one hand, you read articles and people talk about how we know exactly what our customers are doing and we can track it all. But what we found is that most SaaS companies, when going out to market, they skip that step. They don't really have the granular usage data. They don't really have the way to aggregate it and to act on that data of how their customers are using their solution. And so what we recommend is, first of all, start tracking. Understand how your customers are using it. What features are most popular? What modules are most popular? Type of bandwidth that they're consuming, and on and on. And that's the first step in really getting an understanding of what are my customers using today, and then from that, how do I go ahead and optimize? The second step is then to identify the patterns based on that usage that you started tracking. So you want to analyze that usage data in order to understand things like frequency of use. Is feature A used all the time? Is it only used periodically? Is it never used? By percentage of users. Feature B, is that used by every single one of my customers? Is it only used by a subset of customers? Can you split that into the different types of customers? Are there peak usage times? So some features used at a certain time of day, a certain time of the year, in the month. Grouping by types of usage and users. Can I, by analyzing the data, segment my customers and understand, well, there are certain groups of customers or users that use my product in this way, and there are others that use it in a different way. And finally, usage over time. In some cases, we've seen where the usage of a specific feature or module starts off really strong and then it decreases over time, or the opposite, it increases. And these are some of the examples of what information you can gain by analyzing the usage data that you can collect from the first step. But don't stop there. Talk to your customers. You don't want to just go on the raw data. You want to survey and speak with your customers to understand why they're doing these things and what benefits they're really gaining from using your solution in this way. The third step then is, once you've got the usage data and you've identified the patterns, it now gives you the information in order to be able to segment your customers according to actual information and not just based on the gut. And at the same time, it's to match your offering that you're providing to those different segments so that you're providing the right features and the right benefits to each of those segments to meet the benefits that they're getting from your solution. And if you combine the two, it's what we call an optimized market applicability, which gets you to the right offering for every customer all the time. The next step then is not just to stop there, but to test those models that you've segmented. You can run A/B testing pretty easily by making slight modifications in the different, whether it's the feature set that you're offering to the different customers, whether it's the license model, whether it's the price, both to new customers and existing users, in order to really figure out which are the models that are working for you. What's key here, though, is to have the systems in place to be able to easily implement and adjust these. What we've seen too many times is that you have a product manager who is all enthusiastic, trying to offer a new license model, a new business model, package features up that are already existing, but just to package it differently. But then they have to go to their engineering team to implement it. And it takes them the time to get through the roadmap sessions and implementing those features. And by the time they get to market, either the market dynamics have changed or they've lost out because some other competitor got to them there quicker. And so it's important to separate those business processes from the engineering. You want to be able to give the tools to your business or market-facing functions so that they can easily adapt the business models and pricing models to market needs without having to go back to engineering every time. And for the fifth and final step, you want to measure those results. So if you've implemented the usage, you've identified the patterns, you've then segmented your offering accordingly, you've tested it, and now you want to really see which ones have worked and which haven't. And so you discontinue the packages that have not worked, and you continue to iterate and refine the offering of those that have performed well. And so again, just to summarize, you start with the usage tracking, down to the feature level to get the granular data. You identify the patterns based on that. You segment accordingly, you test those models, and then you measure results. But you don't stop there. It's basically rinse and repeat, because it's a continuously iterative process, just like many things are in the cloud in the SaaS environment. So what I want to do now is just bring this all together through an example of a company that we've worked with in CenterCode. If you're not familiar with CenterCode, they're a SaaS application for beta management. So they work with top-tier technology companies, companies like Adobe, like Google, like Apple, and others, to help them manage their large-scale beta testing. They launched in 2002 with a perpetual license. It was a service. But a perpetual license which essentially enabled their customer to have an unlimited number of both internal users as well as end-user beta testers. What they realized, though, was that because they were charging a perpetual license, it was a barrier to entry for some smaller and mid-sized customers of theirs. And so they started offering an annual subscription, but it was still with unlimited use because they didn't have a way to track the usage of their service. In 2007, they started implementing some initial usage tracking, where they offered a seat-based model. So a customer of theirs can buy, let's say, 5 seats, and then they limited the number of end customer beta testers. So let's say 1,000 testers for that customer. What they realized, though, that they were still offering essentially the same service to all different types of customers, whether it was the Adobes and the Googles on the high end to the smaller and the mid-sized vendors on the other end. And so they started to segment, and in 2009, they implemented more granular usage tracking in order to be able to understand how their customers were using the different features in their offering, and then segment it and offer it accordingly. And so when they got that granular data, they offered different types of solutions, more for an enterprise type of a customer and for a smaller to mid-sized customer. And they didn't stop there. In 2011, they continued to optimize. And what was interesting enough was that they didn't just continue to, they decided which features to offer within their service. They also were able to understand from their customers how much they were actually using. And their customers came to them and said, we don't want to be limited in the number of end user beta testers we can have on the platform. And so CenterCode thought to themselves, well, we don't want to just open up the service and let you use an unlimited number of seats. But then they went ahead and looked at the data. And they saw that, on the one hand, their customers were asking for unlimited usage, but they weren't really using that many, that CenterCode couldn't handle it. And so the usage tracking gave them the confidence to be able to remove this blockage and remove the usage limitations because they saw what their customers were actually using. And so in 2011, they started offering without the usage limitations. Since 2009, they've seen a significant growth in their business since they started segmenting and really refining and optimizing their business offering. Just a few additional tips from what we have learned, and I've said it a couple of times already. Link the model, your business model, to the value that you provide to your customer. But at the same time, you need to find the right balance. You don't want to over-segment because you can get to a segment of one. And so you have to find the right balance between segmentation on the one hand and keeping things simple on the other, because you don't want to go too far with it and complicate both your business as well as your customers. Another issue we've seen that some mistakes companies often make is where they'll often offer a specific feature set only to their enterprise customers. But that feature set or module might be interesting or have some demand from the smaller customers. And the only way for those smaller customers to be able to access those features is to upgrade to a package that they don't need. And so the more successful companies we've seen they would take those features or modules and offer it as an additional upsell to the smaller customers. So the smaller customer might have a base subscription model or a base offering, and then they can go ahead and upgrade to the additional feature set as an add-on. And finally, we suggest also consider combining different models. This is something we do ourselves, where we have a base subscription for our platform plus a usage-based model. And we've seen some successful companies do this as well, where for the standard feature set, they'll offer a base subscription, and then they'll charge per use for additional features. And so just to sum it up, one size does not fit all. It's really best to segment your offering, but base it on real usage data and customer feedback, and not just going by your gut. At the same time, it's important to continuously iterate in order to improve, because it's a continuous cycle working with the customers. And finally, make sure that you have the processes and the systems in place to enable you to effectively optimize your business model. Again, separating your business processes from your engineering processes to give your team and your company the capability to really adjust to the market needs quickly. For those of you that want to hear more information, we have a booth over here. You could come see our booth talks about Sentinel Cloud. Sentinel Cloud, again, is our licensing solution which helps ISVs do just that, whether it's from the usage tracking to the provisioning to the licensing, and helping them adjust their business models on the fly. Just one last note, you've got registration cards on your tables. If you want to enter a drawing for an iPad 3, you could drop off that registration card at our booth in the room over there. Thank you very much.